So I went to church the other day. For those of you that listen to this podcast on a regular basis, you already know that I consider myself atheist. So, it was definitely weird being back into that environment. I am atheist, but I have a strong, strict Catholic background. But I just now I have less guilt. That was such a fucking hacky joke. Catholics aren't that guilty. But anyway, so we're fucking, I'm sitting in there and I'm listening to the pastor or preacher or whatever the fuck, priest. And I forget, like his name is like Father Ryan. I think that's what they said his name was. And well, the whole reason I was there, it wasn't because I suddenly, caught the Holy Spirit. It was my aunt had passed away almost a year ago, and they were having sort of a one, come one, come all sort of let's take this moment to remember our dead. And so there was lots of people there. It wasn't just like me and my family, but there was lots of people there. And they're doing like a tree lighting ceremony or whatever. And this Father Ryan, he listening to him, I had like I don't know, I was kind of conflicted, like part of me was like, I remembered kind of going through all of this, during my childhood, and it's been a long time since I had gone to church. It's not the longest I've been, or it's not like I haven't been in a church in a long time, but as far as being, like being there during service, I haven't been there in a very long time. And, and it kind of reminded me why, I don't know, just that little kid side of me that was just in awe about the stories and all of that. But it also reminded me of exactly why I stopped being religious. And he was like, he was talking about what the fuck was it? He had brought up Psalm 23, the whole though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, that fucking thing, right? And he's talking about that. And he, and they came to the part about, thy rod and thy staff. And I fucking just cracked up laughing, right? Because I had forgotten how gay religion sounds if you hear it out loud. Just there's lots of mentioning of rods and staffs and, seas parting and, just lots of fucking things that if you have a corrupted mind like I have, you start to, you stop imagining some wise old man with a fucking cane, and you start thinking, you start imagining that this is more of like, like the guy from fucking Family Guy, or is it Family Guy? Yeah, the fucking old man. What's his name? I don't know. But anyway, he's talking about that, and he's trying to make people feel better. Now, keep in mind, this is a group, or this is a room filled with people that are, they all have different religious beliefs. Not everybody in the room is Catholic or Christian or whatever. There's a mixture. And he opens up the fucking the whole like service talking about how he ministered at Ground Zero during 9/11, right, when that whole thing started. And I don't know, it struck me as odd, right? And he kept bringing it up throughout the service. He kept bringing up 9/11. It's just like, it's like, at first it was just like, wow, you obviously get around, but then it was like, okay, um, there are Middle Eastern people in this crowd. It's like, and the chances are that they're Muslim is probably pretty high. So it's like, it's just like, it just struck me as weird. Because it's like, okay, let's remind all of the people in here that aren't Middle Eastern about that day where supposedly, the Middle East attacked us, and talk about the day that, that it's very emotional for a lot of people, and just completely ignore the fact that we've got Muslim people sprinkled in the crowd or whatever. It was weird. And I don't know where I was going with that, but it was just, I don't know. I just when he got to the rods and staff and shit, and just I started laughing, and people looked at me, because when, have you ever had one of those moments where you just find something so fucking hilarious that you can't hold it in? And Father Ryan, he like a good fucking MC of a crowd, he rolled with it. He was just like, we all deal with loss in different ways. Some cry, some laugh uncontrollably. It got a laugh from him, and it kind of let me off the hook. But it's just, I don't know. It's like one of those times, like, like I've been stuck in like elevators with people, and suddenly something, I'll remember something, silly that somebody said, and I'll just, you have those fucking embarrassing moments, and, I kind of felt like a fucking, like a twat afterwards, right? There's that Catholic guilt, right? Because, most of the time when people are dealing with the loss of a loved one, usually laughter is not the appropriate emotion. And I kept feeling like, okay, these people think that I basically am the Antichrist in here, that I actually find the loss of life fucking death or funny. And I don't know, I just felt like shit. And then after it was over, and there was it was fucking rough. Like not at the end of the service, like halfway through the service, he had everybody, like form a line and light a candle and put it on the altar or whatever. And, and one of the things that they asked you to do was that as you pass by, this one particular lady, you would just sort of, say who you're remembering, right? So, we were in there about six, seven deep. 6, 7 deep, like we're a fucking mob. It was like 6 or 7 of us. And for like most of it, it was like, like we were the ones that had the most amount of people talking about the same person. But then this family came up, and it was fucking brutal, because there's this young lady. Am I getting old? Am I now referring to, well, she's younger than me, obviously. She wasn't a kid, but she was younger than me. And like I think first her mom went up and was like, oh, I'm remembering my grandson. And then the dad came, and he's like, oh, my grandson so and so. And then she came. And I mean, up until this point, I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't realize that they were talking about like a baby. And the girl comes, and she says, "Oh, my baby, so and so," and then she just loses it. And I was like, fuck. Like I don't cry about anything. And I'm not saying that to sound macho or whatever. It's just, I don't know. I'm a typical fucking caveman sort of male. Not a lot of things upset me. I cried when my kids were born. I cried when my aunt died. Didn't cry when my mom did, though. for obvious reasons if you've listened to this podcast. But like watching her break down, just I don't know, it fucking did it for me. I was just like, oh god, and like I actually had to fucking excuse myself because it was just it was getting bad. And the thing is I kind of I mean, it was fucking with me that it made me upset, but like what bugged me the most was like I didn't get so emotional about my aunt, and I love my aunt. She was as close to a mother as somebody could be, but it was just like I think I'd already sort of mentally accepted or emotionally accepted that that she's gone. But just thinking about like this young lady, and she lost her baby, and it's like, god, that's got to be fucking horrific. And because I'm a parent, has this podcast just gotten super fucking depressing? You know what, let's skip that fucking story where I'm crying like a little bitch. This is the effing podcast for those of you that are new to the fucking show. Although I don't know why I call it a show. It's not like, I don't know. When I think of a show, I think of like cameras and, a fucking production crew and all of that. Although I have gotten a few emails during the years that I've done this podcast, and I think I'm only at 2. So, where people are like, oh, why don't you film one once? No, I'm not fucking doing that. Because first of all, who the fuck am I? I'm a fucking nobody. I'm not a celebrity. I'm just some fucking jackass that sits at his dining room table with a fucking, with some headphones, a mic, and a fucking mixer. Nobody wants to see me fucking do this shit live. Or not even live, but, nobody wants to see my fucking, my face. It's not a bad looking face. I think I'm, relatively, decent to look at. It's not like I'm fucking, like I got did anybody ever see that fucking movie from like, I don't know if it was like the 80s or the 90s or whatever, where it was like some kid with like a gigantic fucking head and it was all deformed and shit, I mean, I'm definitely nowhere sniffing that. I mean, I feel like I'm a decent looking dude. So, but yeah, I'm not doing the filmed fucking podcast. I almost had a guest the other day. My son has been bugging me to let him come on the podcast because he's so curious about what what I do, what I talk about, how, the energy or whatever. He's curious about it because he's never listened to it, mainly because I don't want him hearing this because, it's just, I mean, he knows that I curse, but it obviously gets taken up a degree or two on the podcast, and it's just like, you don't need to listen to your dad fucking, say cunt, 500 times over an hour or so. But yeah, he really wants to come on, and it's just like, part of it's like, okay, I know that I'd have to sort of curtail my perspective a little bit. I'd have to fucking reel it in a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, well, what are we going to talk about? I mean, I'm pretty sure, I enjoy our conversations, but I'm pretty sure the rest of the world is just, they're not interested in listening to us talk about fucking, I don't know, Spider-Man or Pokemon, it's not one of those things. And plus it'd feel kind of like, I don't know, I'd feel like I'd kind of be exploiting him, because people love to bring their kids on, especially if they feel like, okay, I'm starting to lose the audience, or maybe I'm trying to grow the audience. It's like, oh, why don't I, it would be like my version of of that fucking guy, the one that fucking, he goes into stores. I think he's like a YouTuber or whatever. He goes into like 7-Eleven and just trashes the place, and he basically does all this off the wall fucking horrific shit just to get fucking attention and likes and whatever. I kind of feel like if you bring your kids on, especially if they're really little. I mean, if they're, like teenagers and stuff, maybe it's okay. But if they're like little kids, and it's basically you're sort of fishing for fucking approval or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, I almost had a guest. I actually would love to have a fucking guest on this on my podcast, just once in a while, just to switch it up, so that it wasn't always just me talking to myself over here. But obviously I'm not a celebrity. I'm fucking just a regular dude. It's not like I have like a fucking entourage or that if you asked anybody like, oh, have you heard of the effing podcast? Most would be like, the what? Nobody's gonna know. Not even most. I would say that almost everybody, probably everybody that you asked, have you heard of the effing podcast? A lot of them would be like, no, I've never fucking heard of that. So, I don't know. Boo-hoo. Oh God. Oh, one thing that fucking about being at fucking service at church the other day. It was actually the same day that net neutrality got repealed or whatever. And as people were going up and saying their loved ones, like it struck me as funny. It's like, you know what, I should go back up there and and say the internet, right? Because it's like, oh, come up and talk about or name your loved ones or whatever, or the people that passed. And it struck me as funny. It was just like, I should just go up there and just be like, the internet, and just be as serious as possible and see if there's anybody in the room besides my daughter. I told her I was thinking about doing that, and she fucking died laughing. But just to see if anybody would find that funny. And then I realized how inappropriate my fucking thoughts and behaviors are for a church setting. I don't know what it is. Even as a kid, I would, I was a regular receiver of smacks when we got back to home, or when we got back home, because of my behavior in church. There is something about being in that room where you're supposed to be quiet and you're supposed to, like maintain this sort of image of I don't know, content or whatever. There's something about it that just makes me want to do, or to fucking disrupt the silence, to do something funny or whatever that I don't know, maybe it's just maybe I'm just fucking vain, because at the end of the day, it's really just I wanted eyes on me. But it just, I don't know, it's one of those situations where where it's a real fucking struggle for me to just be quiet and just allow people to fucking enjoy their experience. I can't do it. And the same thing, happened, the other day. It was just like, I need to fucking do something outlandish to make people fucking, and I think that's probably what the laughing was about, right? It was just like my way of stealing the fucking attention for a second, which, makes me feel like kind of a fucking cunt. But, I mean, the fucking, Father Ryan, he managed to turn it into a positive. So, you could say that I was like his Scottie Pippen to his Michael Jordan. I don't know. But, God, how big of a fucking head do I have now that I actually felt like I had some fucking positive input into his serum. What is it? Whatever, his fucking service. Has anybody watched oh, you know what's no, skip that. Fucking the Me Too, the hashtag Me Too movement is beginning to fucking eat itself, and I find this fucking hilarious. Apparently, I don't know who the fuck it was. Somebody fucking protested I don't know if it was the Emmys or whatever, or they didn't protest. Well, I guess I guess a bunch of female celebrities decided that, when they go to the awards show, that they'll wear black and they'll have their sort of silent protest. And oh, I know who it was. It was fucking Rose McGowan. She decided that she was going to attack those people for being silent, like, oh, your protest means nothing. And then now you have like other celebrities firing back at her, and it's just, you know for me, it's awesome watching this movement fall apart. Not because I don't give a shit about the victims, but it's just proof that, you know what, ladies, when it comes to wanting to be in control and ego and all of that, you're no different than guys. No different whatsoever. Just watching them eat themselves up, and this whole, like, oh, you're not protesting the right way. The right way is to do it this way. And it's just, I don't know. Like, for me, I think for me, probably what's most exciting for me, as far as as the movement beginning to fall apart, is that I'm firmly in this stance, I don't know, position of, yeah, it's rough and it's fucking horrifying what women have had to put up with, but it's getting old. It's just like, I'm not saying be quiet. I'm not saying that your stories don't matter, but it's just like, yes, I'm assuming every woman on the planet at some point has dealt with some fucking jackass. This is not anything new. At this point, it's like you're overdoing it. You're overdoing it. Yes, we know men are fucking horrific. Yes, although there are some dudes out there, and I sometimes find myself in this fucking category of, like, do we have to believe every single allegation? And, I wrestle with that, because it's like, well, yes, obviously there's going to be some that are just looking for attention. They're just looking to share the spotlight for a little bit, or they're trying to, resurrect a dwindled fucking career, or they just, or they're trying to go after money. Yes, these women do exist, but at the same time, I realized that, that there's probably just a little small microcosm of women that the majority are in fact talking about an actual experience and how it affected their life and all of that. So it's like, it's very fucking troubling. Not troubling. I don't know. It's anxiety inducing, because it's like, okay, what do we do? What exactly do women want? I don't even think women have an end game here. What is it that you want from us, lady? Do you want us all? What we should do is, guys, we should all just decide that we're all going to act like little beta bitches, right? Because this is the type of men that a lot of these women claim they want. They want this guy that's always constantly checking in with them and making sure consent is there, and and never diminishing them in any way. Not that you should. I'm not saying you should be able to diminish anyone, but the line between what would be considered just normal interaction and sexism and diminishing, it's very fucking thin. It's a mystery at this point. But we, as guys, and I know this is kind of fucking childish, this way of dealing with things, but it's like, okay, let's all just act like little beta bitches and see how long it is before women are like, you know what I need is a man, like a real man, right? Because this is why that argument that, women say that they want a really sensitive guy, but the minute he does anything remotely out of character for the male species, suddenly he's like, like if he loves his mother too much, he's a mama's boy. Or if he cries, he's a little bitch. If he doesn't stand up to you, he's wishy-washy. It's just, it's like, I don't think ladies actually know what what you guys want. I think it's just you found an opportunity to talk about the horrific shit you've been going through, and I feel like you definitely deserve to do it, and I'm hoping things change. But I don't think that the type of dudes that you feel like you want, I don't think you actually want them. Because no time in history, and this is not coming from like the male perspective of what women want, but just listening to women. Rarely do you ever hear a woman be like, you know what I want? I want a guy that is just a complete fucking wet paper towel or wet paper bag or whatever. Something fucking wet. You don't hear that very often. I mean, you hear it from like, these women that essentially just want to do sort of a role reversal where it's just like, I'm the fucking boss and you do what I fucking say. But the thing is even in those situations, it's not like the women have respect for those guys. It's more of just, look how, like, let's see how much shit I can put him through. That I think that's kind of like, what's this fucking new shit with porn. It's like the fucking cuckold or whatever, where it's like, for some reason there are dudes out there that are fucking excited to watch their women fuck another dude. Usually the dude will have like a bigger fucking dick and he'll be denied in every single way. In fact, he'll be like humiliated and shit. Like there's some sort of weird fucking dynamic going on. And I think a lot of women have, I don't know. I don't really know where I was going with that shit. But one thing I do know, ladies, is that you don't want us to all be fucking beta, fucking little bitch boy men. What you want is for us to respect you, which most of us do. I know that there are a lot of fucking animals out there. I know that even at times on this podcast, I sound like one of those fucking animals. But I'm also not the type of dude that, would do any of that fucking shit. I mean, hell, 90% of the relationships that I've been in, and it's been quite a few, most of the time, the woman has pursued me. Not because I feel like I'm fucking awesome or whatever, or some sort of fucking Mac or whatever. It's because I've always sort of had this like, well, I don't want to fucking... Like, I don't want to deal with rejection. I mean, nobody really fucking does. But, like, I don't want to deal with rejection. I don't want to deal with, I don't want to fucking pursue something and then it turns out it's just, it's pointless or whatever. Like, I don't like wasting my time. So I figured, you know what? If the girl really wants to be with me, or if she wants to, establish something with me, then she'll make some effort. I'm not saying I don't do anything. I mean, obviously, I flirt and do those sorts of things. But as far as like taking the flirting to a next level, usually I will follow the woman's lead. Because for me, the worst would be like to fucking do something and it just be like, like I had completely misread the situation or whatever. Like, I've never been that type of a guy. So you won't find any, if for some reason one day I make it fucking famous, or I become famous for this fucking mediocre piece of shit podcast, there won't be a bunch of women coming forward like, oh, he shut me in a room and made me watch him fucking rub one out. You're not going to find that shit, because I've always been very conscious about not wanting to be rejected. And in order to maintain that, it means sort of, you can still be in control, but I mean, or, like as a guy, like the dynamic, it's not like I turn into a little bitch, but, I kind of follow their lead. Like if they want to fucking do something, then they're going to be the first one to sort of take it there. And I'm sure that there's been plenty of times where it was sort of a missed opportunity, where I was kind of waiting for them to sort of send up the fucking flare, and they were probably waiting for me. And unfortunately, when you got two people waiting for the other to make a fucking move, a lot of the time shit doesn't fucking happen. So I'm, I don't know. I think I told this story before. when I was probably, what was I in, like, I think eighth grade. Was it eighth grade? I don't know. Sometime in fucking middle school. I was seeing this girl, and I brought her back to my house, and nobody was home, of course. And we were messing around, kissing and all that stuff, and we're laying on my bed, and like I didn't try anything, we kissed and all that stuff, but she was I definitely could have had sex with her, but halfway through it, she had said something like, oh, she said something like, oh, by now, guys would have been trying to go in my crotch or something. She said it like that, and it was just like, ugh. We ended up just taking a fucking nap because, first of all, I wasn't gonna, I wanted to have sex with her, but, I was waiting for her, to fucking sort of signal it. And then when she did signal it, she fucking grossed me out. So just like, let's just take a nap. Like that's the type of dude that I've always been. So you're not there's never gonna be, unless, and if somebody does come forward, once I hit this magical fucking make-believe fame, I'll tell you now, it's complete fucking horseshit. Because I've been like this my entire fucking life. I've never been pushy with anybody. It's always been, like if there's one positive fucking aspect to my mother, is one of the things she taught me from the very fucking beginning was to be fucking respectful. To always be fucking respectful. At least when it comes to that. I'll call people fucking cunts and twats. I'm not, if you're acting like a cunt or a twat, I'm going to call you a fucking cunt or a twat. I'm not that sort of fucking respectful, but, you just definitely, you don't push, you don't force, you don't coerce, you don't do any of that shit. You just make sure everything's okay. I took that to mean let them fucking completely initiate shit, and that's how it's been my entire fucking life. So, so if one day I'm fucking, I don't know, like suddenly my, people are just clamoring to fucking listen to my, my podcast or get my fucking, autograph, and somebody's like, and some lady fucking comes out of nowhere and is like, back in fucking, 2002, he fucking did, just, I'm telling you now, it's fucking bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. But, I don't know. I guess getting back to the Me Too thing, it's just, I find it's fucking, it's hilarious to me watching the movement fall apart. Not because I want people to just shut the fuck up, but it's like, okay, we get it now. There's a lot of fucking animals. And at this point, if you're a guy, after, seeing fucking, everybody sort of come crumbling down because of the shit that they've done, if after this point you're willing to risk doing something and getting called out for it later, then you're a fucking maniac. You're a fucking sociopath. I think that most guys at this point, sort of just out of fucking fear, will change their fucking behavior. Now, they may look at you the same way, they may have the same fucking thoughts. You're not going to change that. That's never going to fucking stop. But as far as their behavior, I'm pretty sure most men would be like, all right, I don't want to end up one of these fucking guys. I don't want to end up being accused of whatever, so I'm just going to fucking, be on my best behavior always. The problem I see, and there's a reason why I'm, to get to why I'm excited to see it fucking crumble, is because it's making things like how are you supposed to approach a woman now if you're interested? And with all of this, like, okay, I have to make sure that everything I do and say and the gestures I make, they all have to be like as non-threatening as possible. And like, what do I fucking talk about? Because ordinarily, I fucking would be open and outspoken, but that could be misconstrued. It's just like, ladies, you're creating an environment that basically will only result in the end of our fucking species. And I'm not saying that, you should shut the fuck up, but I'm just saying that maybe you need to take it down a notch. Just a little bit. I'm not saying that you should let dudes fucking touch on you, and I'm not saying it's okay for men to make comments or any of that shit, but maybe we just sort of come to an agreement that not everything is assault on womanhood. Some guy, we're fucking men. Yes, we want to have sex, but this, pretending like, that's the one thing that fucking has always bugged me. It's like how women pretend like they're not as into sex as we are. Not all women are like this, of course. But, most women are just as fucking interested in sex as we are. And yet a lot of them pretend like, like they'd rather do anything else but have sex. Yeah, at times, yeah. There's times even for me where it's like, I think I'd rather just sit here and have a conversation. It doesn't happen often, but there are times where it's like, I don't really feel like it, Doesn't mean that I'm no longer attracted to my girl or whatever. It just, but of course that never fucking happens. I think it's only happened once where it was, where the green light was fucking there and I opted to not do it. And of course she reacted badly to it, but I don't know. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about at this point. How long have I been talking? Man, what? I think I'm gonna end it here. I had other shit that I wanted to talk about, but I don't know. I feel like if I do, the podcast is gonna go on for a couple hours, so I'll end it here. And I will try and give you guys another one either tomorrow or the day after or whatever. Sometime during this week. And I'll try and give you an extra one as well. But anyway, so I'm going to get the fuck out of here. I hope you're having a good week. So far, it's fucking Tuesday. So, you still got 4 more to go. But, it is what it is. All right. So, yeah, fucking just like always, don't take any shit and go fuck yourself. Peace.